So every January, many people embark on a big goal setting spree. They think that January is the perfect time to change their life, think about what they want to be different, all of the things. Now, if you're on my email list, you would have gotten my email last week that talks about how January might not be the best time to set goals. So if you're not feeling it, that's totally fine. But just in general, there are a lot of people who do want to change things about their life. So whether you're thinking about setting goals in January or later in the year, I wanted to share a very, very, very simple tip to start making changes to get towards your goals to help you. That's just like a very small mindset shift / technique adjustment when it comes to how you set your goals. I'm going to share that in today's video, and I'm also going to share there is one problem that can come up with this shift, and I'll talk about how you can deal with that as well. Hi, welcome back. I'm Catherine. I'm the founder and principal therapist of LSM Clinic, a sport and remedial massage therapy clinic in East London. In this channel, I share information about how the body works and simple self-care tips so that you can enjoy your day-to-day life, your favorite activities, pain-free or as close to it as possible. So the big problem with goals or trying to change something about your life is that it can feel really hard. It takes our brains so much more energy to do something new that we haven't been doing before than it is for our brain to just keep going with the same old habits that we already have kind of down. We can get a burst of motivation, like in the new year, like when the weather gets warmer at various times, and we can make all these big plans and lists and schedules and be like really motivated. But then it only takes one bad day, one overwhelming day, one poor night of sleep, lacking motivation, missing a couple, and then it just doesn't feel like it's worth the effort anymore, and then you're back to square one. So as you know, here I tend to talk about like stuff for the body. So the examples I'm going to give you are going to be related to pain or like body maintenance, self-care, but you can apply this to almost anything that you're trying to change. So here's the tip. Make the change so small and so tiny that it's almost harder not to do it than it is to do it. Like it almost seems silly. Like you're just not going to want to talk yourself out of it because all the reasons that you would talk yourself out of it are gone because of how small the change is. So let me give you a couple of examples. So one, when people have neck and shoulder pain, we'll often give them the cactus stretch, which is like to open up their chest, and it's like this, right? And so we will say, do the chest stretch when you go to bed. So you get into bed and do this cactus stretch. Put a Post-it note by your bed so you have a reminder so you can see it, and just do it for a couple of minutes before you go to sleep. You see with that one, it doesn't take any extra equipment. It doesn't take much extra time because you're just going to bed. And like most of us don't go right to sleep in bed. So it's asking you to do this in bed. It's not taking time out the rest of your day. It's very easy and you don't have to change. You don't have to find a different place to do it. So it's something that's, from a practical perspective, very easy to do, and from a mental load perspective, also not very difficult because you're not having to think about all these different steps. And the aim is to do it like 3 to 4 times a week. Another example I can give you is when we give people knee lift exercises for glute activation. So we'll say the knee lift 10 times on each side takes 30 to 60 seconds, maybe slightly longer if you are just starting out and kind of finding that glute activation. You can do it in the morning. You can do it when you're brushing your teeth. You can do it when the kettle's boiling, right? You can do it during like time that you're waiting for anything else in your day. Or you can just set a timer for a minute and do it for a minute. Now, obviously, if you were like, I don't have that time, we find another time in their day that they can do that. But the idea is the same, where it's like, it's not taking a lot of extra time. You don't have to change your clothes. You don't have to have extra equipment. You don't have to learn like loads of really complicated steps. You don't have to find a block of 20 or 30 minutes in your day that you might not have. It's just very easy to implement and get into. And then you have your habit, you have your tip that is helping you towards, in these cases, glute activation can be like for knee pain, lower back pain, chest stretch for neck, shoulder pain, right? So you have that one little thing. Once you've found like the one little change that you're going to make that almost seems harder to not do than it does to do, you're going to do that consistently for 1 to 3 weeks, maybe even 4, what feels good to you, and it also kind of depends on how big the thing is, but until it feels normal. So in the examples that I gave you, the neck and shoulder pain stretch, you might do it 3 or 4 times a week, maybe like every other night, every couple of nights. And the knee lift, say 5 times a week, right? Because you do want to do it every day, but maybe you give yourself a couple days off, not a huge deal. And then once that habit is ingrained and it's just a part of your regular life, like, you know, some people can't go to bed without brushing their teeth. Some people can't wake up in the morning without having a coffee. Like that kind of habit, we want it to be that kind of normal. Then you add the next thing and you try and make it a similar thing. And the reason that you do it like this, one at a time, even though it might feel like, oh, this is going to take forever because now it's like, you know, instead of making all of these big changes at once, I'm making little ones. So I'm not going to see the results as quickly, which could be true. You're also a lot less likely to drop it. And if it becomes a part of your routine, then it can be something that you can do forever because it's not like something that's really heavy, that's going to take you a lot of effort, that you want to give up as soon as you can. Like some of like the really restrictive habits that we can put in place, or some of the really hard working habits that we can put in place that are so much effort that we really want to stop them as soon as we can. These are more long lasting. And so this approach of finding like the tiniest thing and putting it into your life and then adding something else works for a couple of different reasons. So one, it's so easy to do. It requires so little brain power, right? You don't have to think about a lot of steps. So it's not as daunting. It doesn't feel like as big of a hurdle. And believe it or not, that barrier of like your brain not knowing what to do and having to figure out a new process is actually a really big one. Like as an example, I make pizza on Thursday nights for the family. We have pizza night. It's just like we've been doing it probably for 10 years at this point. I know how to make pizza dough, and I'm not saying it's great pizza dough. I'm definitely not an Italian baker. But I know the ingredients. I don't have to look up a recipe. I just do boom, 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 boom. It takes me like 5 minutes, right? But if I have to bake something else, if I have to make bread that I haven't made before, if I have to do another bake thing that I haven't made before, I have so much more resistance to it because it requires so much more mental effort to do that other thing. And that's exactly what happens with the goals and the plans that we put in place. If they are not really easy, especially how demanding life can be, you end up like trying to go to work and juggle everything else, and then this thing that you needed to do, you just don't have the brain power left for it. You just don't have the mental capacity to learn this new thing. So choosing something really small means that you're not straining your brain that much, and it means that you're more likely to do it because it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And then the second reason this works is because you make it a part of your routine. You do it often enough that it feels normal and feels like you're part of your day to day, and then you can add something else instead of it feeling like this massive production that you have to do every time you're trying to stick to your plan to achieve your goal. You'll slowly use this approach to build up habits to take care of yourself. And you'll find yourself with lots of better habits, achieving more goals, and without all the boomeranging of big starts and dramatic failures. So there is one problem that can happen with this approach, which I'm going to mention in just a second. But before I do, I just wanted to mention that if you enjoyed this video, if you like this kind of thing, I do send an email 3 times a week. The link to subscribe is below. Sorry, not 3 times a week. Not 3 times a week. That would be way too much. 3 times a month. Or you can sign up for a monthly email. I send the YouTube videos. I send stories and like tips. And sometimes pull up old YouTube videos as well. So if you'd like to be on that, you can subscribe below. Or if you just like these videos, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you're enjoying it. It really means a lot when people leave a like or subscribe because that helps us reach more people. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so what is the problem with this tip? The big problem that we find with our clients is that because it feels so simple, because this new habit or this new technique or this new tip feels so small, it almost feels like it's not worth doing because it's not going to make a difference, right? If it's not a big change, it's not going to make any difference, so why bother? And so a lot of people will skip out on it because they don't actually believe it will change. And obviously you need to believe the thing is going to work if you're going to do it, because why put the effort if you don't think it will? So I don't know if you've heard about the 1% story of the British cycling team, and I'll find a link and put it below so you can kind of read the whole story. But basically, the British cycling team got a new coach at one point. I think it was before the 2012 Olympics, but I could be wrong. But basically, the coach came in and was like, okay, we're going to improve everything by 1%, just 1%. And you're thinking, like, what's 1% improvement going to do? But they improved the pillows by 1%. They improved something with their aerodynamics by 1%. They just went across the board and 1%ed it all. And they ended up winning for the first time in years. And that, I love that story because it underlines that even though a small change doesn't seem like it's massive, it really does cumulatively build up, and it's a lot more manageable than like some massive change that takes loads of effort that's easier to forget about. So if you choose a tip and you might be like, I'm going to have 1 extra cup of water a day, or I'm going to eat 1 vegetable a day where I eat 0 now, or 1 more vegetable a day, or I'm going to eat 1 fruit per day, right? It can feel like it's not enough, or doing like a minute stretch per day or a minute activation per day can feel like it's not enough compared to like overhauling your diet and eating 30 different varieties of fruits and vegetables and doing 3 30-minute weights exercises at the gym, or like painfully stretching or foam rolling to help with your tight muscles. But you will find that over time, the likelihood of you doing these big things are less and less. And actually, like with some of the changes, like going straight into 30 minutes of weight training 3 times a week, or doing really hard stretching and foam rolling, you might actually end up hurting yourself, right? Because you're going past where your tolerance is. So it's actually going to be a lot more effective and longer lasting if you can go, okay, yeah, actually, I'm going to do the 1% approach. I'm going to find the little things that I can work into my day and then build it up until it becomes so normal that I don't even have to think about it, like me making pizza dough every week. You would be surprised how many people are like, you make pizza dough from scratch every week? And I'm like, yeah, but it's because it takes me 5 minutes. I don't bake a new baking recipe every week. I do something I've been doing for 10 years. That's really easy. And that's what I'd like your self-care, your exercises, the things that you're doing towards your goals, whatever they may be, to feel like. I want you to be like, yeah, this is so easy because this is just part of my habit. This is just part of my routine. This is just what I do, right? And if you can just remember, yeah, I just need to do this 1% improvement, and a bunch of 1% improvement is going to make a massive, massive difference, you can get over that kind of challenge that we find with this tip. So I would love to know if you're going to try this, if you're going to take one of the things that you want to change about your life and find something really, really, really small that almost seems like it's nothing, but it's incrementally like 1% better, and let me know in the comments what it is. Now, if you have a specific ache or pain and you'd like to know an idea of what your like little tiny thing could be, leave a comment. I'm happy to answer it. I'm also going to put links to our foam rolling workshop, glute activation playlist, stretching details, and the workshop that has the chest stretch in it, the desk worker workshop, so that if you want to try any of the like glute activation or stuff that I mentioned in the video, you can use one of those resources. And next video, I'm going to talk about how we often end up walking around with like a little bit of pain, and we don't do anything until it's worse, and like why that is, especially when we can like address it earlier, and the thing that I think is behind that. So thank you so much for watching. I've really appreciated your time today. Again, if you could share this with anybody you know who's trying to set a goal and maybe could use some help. If you'd like more videos like this, please do subscribe and give it a like, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.